They're all saving one, or most of the Hampshire fielders are saving one. Somerset need one run. It's Edwards to Hildreth. He's there and bowls Hildreth, and he gets the run away through the onside, and Somerset have won. They've won the Royal London One Day Cup.
Hello there, you are listening to Always Look on the Bright Side of Life. This is the Somerset CCC podcast. My name's Ian Shepherd, and joining me this evening for our season preview as the County Championship starts in but a few days' time, I've got Steve Tancock, Dan Kingdom, and the voice of cricket on BBC Radio Somerset, Anthony Gibson. And Anthony, I understand you are fresh back at Langport from the Somerset CCC Media Day today.
Yep. Yeah, we had a press conference. I was the only one who asked any questions. But I did manage to establish that Craig Overton and Jack Leach aren't allowed by the ECB to play against Hampshire. Oh. But they will be back. They will be back for the Essex game, according to Jason Kerr. Jason Kerr has signed a 2-year extension to his contract, which I think is a pretty good thing. And apart from that, there was a lot of sort of management speak from Andy Hurry, including the memorable
a lot of learnings.
I like this. We're one big family going on this journey together.
That sounds like the plot of National Lampoon's Vacation.
Taking our learnings with us.
Oh,
you didn't have to say that last bit. But the one big happy family going on this journey together was authentic Andy Hurry.
Oh, so that's fair enough. And so Craig and Jack not available for Hampshire. I think probably understand Jack. He's bowled a hell of a lot of overs, particularly in the last few weeks in the West Indies. But Craig, he's played 2 games in the winter. How long have they been back for now? At least 2 weeks, isn't it?
10 days, probably.
Yeah, it's...
Well, that's the ECB for you. Yeah. The only player who played in the 3rd Test match against the West Indies who's going to feature in the first round of County Championship matches is Zach Crawley. All the others are either not in the first round of County Championship matches or have been told they've got to wait. And none of the bowlers will be appearing in the first round.
Well, that's good news for whoever Kent are playing then, because I'd fancy bowling at Zach Crawley at the moment. Yes, I mean, I'm going to chalk this up to another ECB conspiracy against Somerset, but that may be stretching it slightly a bit. But okay, so obviously Craig and Jack not featuring in the 3 pre-season games that we've had against Glamorgan, Gloucestershire and Warwickshire, which only finished yesterday. Dan, I know you went to a few, but Steve, how much of that were you able to keep tabs on, and what did you think of our pre-season
kept tabs,
prep?
But didn't watch very much, to be honest. Pre-season cricket games are difficult, aren't they? Because they are just effectively middle practice, and it achieved all the objectives. Did we learn anything? Maybe Tom Banton batting at 4 was quite interesting.
Yep.
Lewis Goldsworthy seems to be where I want him to be in the middle order. But other than that, I don't think I took a lot away from it. I think I took more away from seeing Peter Siddle arrive and thinking how much we're going to save in fuel on the floodlights this year, because that blonde hair is going to light up the county ground all on its own, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, a couple of things I took away from it is Davey and Gregory don't look 100% fit. Probably Davey especially. I was quite surprised to see that.
I thought Gregory looked, sort of 85% fit, which I was quite encouraged by seeing him bowl on when it was freezing cold on Friday. He was bending his back. He was bowling at a good pace on a very flat, tired pitch, but I was encouraged by that.
Yeah,
but I agree,
he would have been taking it carefully, wouldn't he? He's bound to have, building up. So, you'd expect him to have 10 to 15% in reserve, and Josh Davey would just be managing his way back as well. So,
I don't think Josh will play against Hampshire. He's maybe a couple of games away from getting back into sight.
Difficult to read in the amount of overs that the various bowlers bowled into whether they're bowling that much because they expect them to play against Hampshire, or they're not bowling because they're not fit and don't expect them to feature against Hampshire. I mean, what surprised me, out of all the bowlers, Tom Abel bowled the second most amount of overs, which I know which for a guy who's just coming off a dodgy knee operation to fix a dodgy knee is a little bit surprising. But I said this to you, Dan, when we were watching, was it the Saturday of the Gloucester game, that I think he's put on a yard of pace or two.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I didn't really notice myself, but, he loves his bowling, doesn't he? And obviously he's improved quite a lot in the last few years. The question is whether he's going to continue his role that he did last year of the fourth seamer, or is he going to sort of go back to being the fifth seamer as he used to be? So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I mean, in game one, I think we'll probably play Roloff plus four seamers with Abel as the fifth seamer. But it's just going forward when we've got Jack available, whether Abel does sort of shoulder the burden a bit more. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
He was still bowling the occasional half volley and long hop when I saw him. It's one bad, 1-4 ball and over, which you can't really afford to do in county championship cricket.
No, definitely not. Ben Green also bowled a few overs. He bowled 23 overs. Marchant bowled the most. He bowled 50. I've done a spreadsheet down all the pre-season averages. This isn't including the trip to the Emirates. Yeah, Gregory bowled 35 overs, and he looked to be sort of increasing his workload as the two games went on. He didn't play against Glamorgan, and then against Gloucester and Warwickshire seemed to be building that up. So I would expect him to play against Hampshire on Thursday. Jack Brooks as well. Looks like a new man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he's a bit Steve Austin, $6 million man. We will rebuild you. I remember somebody said that he had only one working limb towards the end of last season. So yeah, it looks good. I mean, I think Jack will play on Thursday, but shall we dispense with the speculation and go with our teams for Saturday? Thursday at the Ageas Bowl. Right. Who wants to start then?
I'm still writing mine.
Oh, right. Okay.
Lammonby and Green to open.
Yeah.
Abel at 3.
Mm-hmm.
Hildreth, I think, will cling on at 4. Banton at 5. It was quite a strong hint today. Jason Kerr singled out Banton for praise for the work he's done, particularly on his defensive technique during the winter, and I think that showed in the pre-season games. He got himself out a couple of times, but he wasn't being got out by the bowlers. His defence, he's really worked hard, I think. So I think he'll go in at number 5. Davis at 6, Gregory 7, and then I've got Van der Merwe at 8, but it's possible they'll play Goldsworthy rather than Van der Merwe. But because I'm not sure that the Ageas Bowl offers the spin bowl or anything very much, and there won't be much to choose. I mean, if there was anything in the pitch for spinners, then you'd pick Van der Merwe rather than Goldsworthy as your spinner. But it may be Goldsworthy will get the call, and that would move Davies and Gregory down a place. And then the three seamers, Brooks, Delanger and Siddle. And I don't think that's a bad side.
Pretty good. Steve, Dan, have you finished yours yet, or do you want a couple more minutes?
I started off the same as Anthony, but then I had Goldsworthy 5, Davis 6, because I had a sneaking feeling that this might not be Hildreth's game. I hope I'm wrong. So I went Goldsworthy 5, Davis 6, Gregory, Van der Merwe, Siddle, Brooks, Delanger.
So
and you have Banton at 4? Banton at 4?
Yeah, Banton. I had the same top 4 as you, Gibbo. I was impressed what I did see and what I read about Ben Green. He looks, he probably is going to be first choice reserve opener, if you know what I mean, once Renshaw comes back. But he seemed quite organised, and he got, we all know he's a really good, solid cricketer. We want him to make the step up to be a better than solid county cricketer, and I thought he applied himself well. We got what we get from Lammonby, which is brilliant, and then flashes of frustration. So, that's definitely going to be the opening pair on Thursday, I would think. And I think sorry, Anthony, but I think you're set with having the skipper coming in at 3 for the season again.
Let's hope he's not coming in quite so early this season as he was last.
Let's hope not. Right. I've gone for Lammerby Greenable, as everybody else has, and I've gone Bartlett 4, Goldsworthy 5, Banton 6, Davis 7, Gregory 8, and then my bowlers are Brooks, Davey if fit, which doesn't look like he's going to be, so I'm going Old Ned Leonard, Peter Siddle and Roloff van der Merwe in my 12, with the proviso that will, if it does look like the pitch is going to take some spin on Thursday, which I very much doubt it will, he would come in for Ned Leonard. So I'm playing playing the extra batsman.
No Hildreth.
No Hildreth for me. It was a strange one with Hildy's sort of pre-season, because he only batted once in each of the games, which would suggest to me that he's either definitely going to play or he's definitely not going to play.
I thought that.
Well, it would seem, if there's any sort of, if they were thinking about it, they'd have probably played 4 or 5 knocks to really get himself into some nick. I mean, Lewis Goldsworthy and George Bartlett batted the most. They batted 5 times each, and I think Lewis Goldsworthy he scored 130 runs and he was only out once, so averaging 130 pre-season, which is pretty good. So you've got to get him in. Bartlett averaged 30, had a couple of nice 40s and a couple of Bartlett-esque dismissals. So it seems to me that they're looking for those two, plus Banton getting 100. You can't really leave him out. So kind of back to my original point, either Hildreth's definitely going to play or he's definitely not going to play. There was kind of no sort of in-between on that decision. It seemed almost like their mind was made up on Hildy beforehand. I don't know if that's your interpretation or not. But
I think you're probably right about that. I think that they've either decided they're going to play him or not, but I hope they do. He deserves this chance. He's earned it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I wouldn't have any issues if he was playing on Thursday, but that's just kind of how it sort of seemed to me. Dan, who are you going for?
Yeah, so Green, Lammerby, Abel, and then I've gone Banton at 4. I was really impressed with his century against Glamorgan. I was there for that. That was a good day to start pre-season. It was interesting that he batted at 4 ahead of Hildreth, and he did that a couple of times, which definitely implies that that's sort of the plan this season, and it is where he scored his runs in 2019 when he had quite a good season. Goldsworthy at 5. I thought he had a good pre-season, only dismissed once in the UK leg of the pre-season, only once in 5 innings. Davis at 6, and then I've gone Gregory at 7, Van der Merwe at 8. I think we will need a spinner. I had a little look at games at the Rose Bowl in April in the last few years, and there has been a lot of spin that's been bowled. I think there was a game, it may have been last year, maybe in 2019, where Liam Dawson bowled 60 overs in an innings, and that was in April at the Rose Bowl. So I think we are going to need a spinner. It can be quite high scoring as well, even that early in the season. So definitely going to need Roloff, I think. And I think I wouldn't be relying on Goldsworthy to bowl too many overs. He's a solid option, but he's not quite there yet in terms of his first class bowling. Not really a wicket taking option, is he? Compared to Van der Merwe. Gregory 7, Van der Merwe 8, and then Davey if fit. If not, probably De Lange, who sort of would give us something a bit different in the bowling attack. Because the other option is Leonard, who has a pretty good pre-season. I thought very impressive. But I think if it was Leonard, the attack would maybe be a bit samey. So De Lange for me at 9, and then Siddle 10, Brooks 11.
Fair dues. I did ask a quick Twitter poll about whether our listeners thought that Tom Abel had got a bit quicker, and 78% think that he has. So there we are. So maybe his new knees are doing the business. What else do we need to talk about? So, do we think when we go down to the Ageas Bowl on Thursday, we're going to have a 2019 performance or a 2021 performance?
Well, it's interesting. I was thinking about the 2021 game. If we'd lost the toss, we would have been bowled out for 79.
That's true.
On that pitch, on that morning. I mean, it was a game that was decided by the toss, and I think an awful lot will depend on the toss on Thursday. But the weather forecast isn't great.
No.
And it wouldn't break my heart if we came away from the Ageas Bowl with an honourable draw, maybe with a few bonus points, because Hampshire are a tough side with their opening attack. You know, they're good bowlers, and we're going to have to. It's a very, very tough start for Somerset. I asked Andy Hurry about this morning, and he waffled away and didn't answer the question. But what I said was, we've got Hampshire away, Essex at home, Surrey away, and then Warwickshire at home as our first 4 games. And our chances in the Championship could be made or broken in the month of April. That's a very tough start. We're going to need to, in another management speak cliche, hit the ground running at the Ageas Bowl. But it's going to be interesting. But it's a tough game down at the Ageas Bowl against Hampshire.
Yeah, I was just sorry. What I was doing is trying to. I was finding last season's fixture list and just trying to see where the Hampshire Somerset game was last year. So that one started on the 6th of May. So not quite April, but still a pretty juicy pitch on that first morning. And let's hope it's not decided by the toss. Let's hope it's a nice sporting pitch, which is fair enough for both sides. Steve, Dan, how do you see it going? Start with Steve. What do you think?
I think I sort of going to answer it with answering a different question, and I think the first 4 games of the season are going to very much depend on how this new batting order, but the players that we're talking about is likely to start who haven't been regulars, i.e. Banton, Green, Goldsworthy. I know he's been a regular, but now we need to see him make some significant contributions. To me, I think, I'm really excited about Peter Siddle. I think he's going to give us an awful lot on the field as a bowler and otherwise. So to me, I think the Rose Bowl outcome is going to depend on the weather, sadly, but it is early April. But I think it's going to depend on whether one of the top 5, 6 can make 2 significant contributions. And Anthony says on comms all the time, partnerships, we need to have somebody other than Tom Abel who we're going to build an innings around. And if we can do that, I think any bowling attack this early in the season is going to struggle in their second and third spells. To me, that's the key. But the thought of us having, if we bat first and can get a decent score on the board, and then letting Siddle, Gregory, and the $6 million Brooks loose on them is quite an appetising one. And it's like all through the winter, I've been going from deeply depressed because of how September was last year to full of optimism. And I think the optimism's gone up with Siddle's arrival, Renshaw's imminent arrival, and the new batting coach, because not just have we got a batting coach, but that guy's got a CV. And I'm seeing some people on social media saying, yeah, he's a white ball coach. But he's coached in the Sheffield Shield at the highest level and had great success. Now, whether he's coming to us as a stepping stone, as a coaching job, fully fledged in England next summer or the summer after, I don't care really, because we'll get the best out of him. It can only benefit us. So at the moment, the cup is more than half full. And to be honest, even if we don't get a great result at the Rose Bowl, it's going to stay half full for a couple of weeks. I think this is going to be a very tight division this year, because I think apart from one team who've given their wicketkeeper away to Essex today, I think we could probably say the rest are much of a muchness. You wouldn't be surprised if Warwickshire struggled this year, or Lancashire didn't have a great season, and you wouldn't be surprised if Kent or Gloucestershire was stellar this season. So, it's the first couple of weeks, and then we can have more of a structured conversation. But it is a lottery early in the season. It's always a lottery at the Rose Bowl. So let's just keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, I totally agree with your point that you wouldn't be surprised if anybody bar Northants won it. It is just a fantastically open division. And Dan, what do you think? What's Mystic Dan's prediction for the Rose Bowl on Thursday morning?
On paper, Hampshire are favourites for sure. I mean, if you look at their bowling attack, Abbott, and Barker, three of the best in the country. And it's going to be a real test for our batting lineup, particularly if we're put in. It might be like last year, if it's one of those games where the toss is significant. Sorry, it's going to be tough for our batting lineup, and I think it might be tough for our bowlers too. Their attack is probably better than ours simply because we're missing 2 or 3 bowlers. We're missing a fit Josh Davey, and they do have a good batting lineup. Weatherly and Holland is a pretty good opening pair, I think, and then with Vince and Dawson lower down, they've got Nick Gubbins now as well. So it's going to be really tough, I think. As Anthony said just now, I'd be pretty happy with a draw, I think. Looking at the forecast, Friday looks like the worst day at the moment. The other days, Thursday's improved. It was quite rainy, but now it's sort of just showing cloud. Friday's the rainiest day. So if it's a 3-day game, then obviously that changes things and maybe increases our chance for a draw. But this is Somerset, and it's at the start of a new season. You never know what's going to happen to you. So I'm not ruling out a win for us at all.
An innings win inside 2 days. Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that'd be lovely. I admire your optimism, Steve. It's so funny early season, isn't it? You could, like, say you don't want these games to be decided by the lottery or the toss, but as Anthony said, the last game we played at the Rose Bowl, it pretty much was good toss to win, and then let Overton and Davey loose on them and knock them over 79 before lunch. It'd be great if that could happen again. Probably won't happen again because Overton and Davey are not likely to be playing. But yeah, I think at the end of April we need to be there or thereabouts. I think because, as you say, it's a really strong division, and it's going to be difficult to play catch up. Looking at that division, there's no one you can think, well, we play them, we play this week's side, followed by another week's side, followed by another week's side, 3 weeks in a row, so we could pick up some points there. It's literally got to be hit the ground running and try and stay on top as best we can, because we know that we're not going to have Renshaw and Siddle in September as things stand, so we need to be there or thereabouts, or have a healthy lead in Division 1, I think, if we're going to have any chance of securing the championship. This is where we're 45 points behind the leaders and have a storm in September and romp to the title. Okay, just going to go off matters on the pitch for the moment, because the Somerset Museum had a website revamp and has its band of volunteers working very hard over the winter to get the museum ready for the start of the season. And waiting in the lobby is one of those volunteers. It's Mike Unwin. So I'm just going to admit him now. I'm going to try and get away with not having to do any editing, so I'm going to try and make this as professional as possible. But Mike's joining us now. Mike, how you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Good. So a lot of hard work been going on in the museum over the winter, I gather. Yeah.
We started back in November, following Anthony's call on air, and I contacted David, the curator, and yes, we started to sort the office out.
And you've had a new website done as well, I gather.
Yes, so that's a culmination of all the work. We've taken the new assets, the old asset list, which was from 2011, plus 750 photographs, combined them all, link them all together, and then I've worked with Joe Tippler, who's the WordPress guru for us, to produce the website.
Good stuff. What's the address of the site so the guys can pop on and have a quick look?
All one word: somersetcricketmuseum.co.uk.
Excellent stuff. We'll pop on and have a look when we finished doing all this. So, just in terms of the museum, then, what kind of new exhibits have you got in over the winter? Because I do know I pop in, and there's not been much pop in new for a little while. So what?
No. Patrick, who looks after the new exhibitions, has designed 4 which are currently live. One is Hat-Trick Heroes, going back over Somerset history, picking up all the hat-tricks, including the hat-trick of catches by Marcus Gothic, which is somewhat unique. He's looked at contracts, both 1939 and 1940 contracts, and the day, and done a comparison of the two, which is, again, quite interesting. I believe one of them in the 39-41 was you're not allowed to talk to the press or anybody.
You weren't around there, were you, Anthony? Is that a bit before your time?
No, not 1939. No, not even my father wasn't around then. So.
He found, I don't know where they came from, but he found a collection of Victorian small prints, sort of 6x4s, destined for the skip. Most of them had cricketing pictures on them, and he's put those together into a collection of cricketing memorabilia from Victorian art.
Happy days. I do enjoy my little trips in the museum. I've only got one thing which is in the Somerset Museum in my own collection. That's a Brian Rose benefit tie from 1983. I thought, well, I've got the Brian Rose, but I need to get some Brian Rose memorabilia. So I think that was a £5 on eBay, which I've got. So I've picked that up. But apart from that, I don't have anything else. So when's the museum open, Mike? Is it just match days as normal, or is it open other times?
Match days is normal, but we've also decided to open in line with Stragglers Coffee Bar. So Stragglers is opening on Wednesdays now, and the museum is open from 11 until mid-afternoon, depending on the number of visitors.
Lovely. And it's
best cricket museum on the circuit.
Yes, have a coffee and visit the museum is the slogan.
Yeah,
absolutely. And free to enter, but donation pot on the door, from what I remember.
Yes, yeah. And looking at that, we had some visitors last week. Unfortunately, didn't have any cash, being a cashless society. So looking perhaps a donate machine.
Yeah. You can get those card readers now that just attach to the wall or a post where you can preload them with maybe like a £3 or whatever donation. So could be a wise investment.
Sort of. So and I think if we can get some more volunteers, it maybe be looking at it opening at different times as well.
Is this a call to arms? Is this a call to arms? So they always look on the bright side of life listenership to put a bit back in and get involved with the museum. If you do want to get involved with the museum, what's the best way to go about
that? Talk to David, the curator.
David Wood, that is. David Wood. He's on the phone and, well, you've got the website address, so...
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so if you do want to get involved with the museum, just pop along and have a chat.
It's very interesting, we've also had some very good feedback, including the curator of Lords, who was very complimentary about the website, which was quite pleasing. So, it's been some good work.
Good stuff then. Yeah. So onwards and upwards for the Somerset Museum. Do pop in when you're there of a match day. I would recommend not going in the lunch and tea breaks because it does get quite busy in there. So if you do find yourself in a bit of a lull in play, do pop in and say hello. But thanks for popping on, Mike. And that web address was somersetcricketmuseum.co.uk.
That's right.
Okay, pop along, have a look
at
the website.
Mike, make sure you're not too busy so Seconds Watch continues. For those who don't know, Mike is the voice of Seconds Watch on the Somerset North blog, and he does a sterling job for me. So I'm hoping he can still spare me some of his valuable time to do that.
We'll still be looking at that.
Great stuff. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you for your invite to the inner sanctum of the podcast.
I've never been called a sanctum before, but I guess if the cap fits. Lovely job. Mike Unwin there from the Somerset Cricket Museum. Do pop in and say hello and have a quick look at the website if you can.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike, and we'll see you at the ground. I'll see you at the ground for the Essex game if I get that.
Okay then. Bye now.
Cheers. Bye bye. Do love a little trip around the museum every now and again. Right, what else have we got on the agenda then? You mentioned it briefly earlier, Steve, but we now, after years of social media outrage, we finally have a batting coach.
And cue social media outrage that he's a white ball specialist.
And that it's not Marcus.
I really felt the cricket season started when I saw that. I thought, great, Somerset Cricket is back for things like that. Great. I'm really pleased. As most people know, I'm quite a fan of the Big Bash, and I've seen him in action over previous years. He built a very strong Melbourne Renegades side, but they were successful in all levels of cricket, and as I'm sure Dan will tell you, he's been really strong in the Women's Big Bash League as well for Melbourne. So, and in the Somerset family, I'm sure another voice at that end will be very welcome. And I'm sure he will see things in our young batsmen that, are going to benefit them, because often we all know that in life, a fresh pair of eyes is often really valuable. So let's give him some time. I also suspect that we will see some changes in the white ball performances, and I'm very interested to see how he fits in the Royal London One Day Cup, whether he will be angling for a place at the other side of the divide, or whether he might have a significant role to play in that squad and the coaching level as well. But it's got to be a positive. We spent the whole of last season bemoaning, who is coaching these batsmen, who's helping them iron out their technical flaws. Well, now we know that Lachlan's the man.
Lachlan Stevens. Yeah, it was a good point you made actually about getting a new member of the family, or a new voice, or a new set of eyes can often be just as valuable as years of experience. From what we've heard about the guy, we've got that, but just having the same set of eyes on you week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out, just you can maybe go a little bit stale, and just somebody new coming in with fresh ideas, it could just be the tonic that we've been looking for.
I'm also looking forward to, well, I'm not looking forward, but I'm anticipating the grilling from our erstwhile BBC correspondent after there's been a batting collapse early in the season, and they put him up. They put him up to be introduced to the Anthony Gibson Inquisition. That will be box office all on its own, I think.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. All those collapses last season, and I never interviewed Jim Troughton once because he wasn't there. he was coaching the second 11. Yeah, and he did a great job with the second 11, and now he's off to Surrey. But I don't think we made best use of Jim Troughton, and I hope we do make good use of Lachlan Stevens. And I agree. He needs to be a sort of stage higher up than Jim was last year in the sort of coaching hierarchy. He should be equal with Steve Kirby underneath Jason Kerr, and be coaching the first 11, not just the development and players and second 11, because there are technical flaws, as we all know. And it's great that Tom Banton, we know, has been working so hard to correct them himself with his defensive technique, which is great. But I'm sure he would benefit from being coached by someone with that sort of experience that Stevens has. Ditto George Bartlett.
Absolutely.
And Lewis Goldsworthy, who's got all the promise in the world, but hasn't actually delivered much yet. No first-class century from Lewis Goldsworthy, or indeed from Tom Banton. So there's plenty of scope for Lachlan Stevens to work his magic with our young batsmen.
Absolutely, and I think they have been working slightly differently with the batsmen as well. I've said this before, but at the Open Day a few months back, they were saying that that the net structure for batsmen is different. It's a 2-hour less intense net now to try and replicate the conditions and the pace of the game that you would get in a championship match, rather than just going in and facing ball after ball, quick with a bowling machine. So let's hope, fingers crossed, that combination of that and Lachlan Stevens' magic can prevent the ever so familiar Somerset batting collapse and be rescued by 6, 7, 8 and 9, as has happened on more than one occasion in the last few years or so. Right, going slightly off Somerset now. A few pundits have mooted Tom Abel being made England captain. Now, not in any, I want to say, not seriousness, but he is a rank outsider to take the job. But a few fairly well-respected pundits have put his name into the ring. Do you put a name in the ring or a name in the hat? You put your name in the hat. You put your name in the hat, and then you throw your hat in the ring. Is that right?
Yeah.
Then what do you put the ring into?
He needs to score runs. He needs to get into the team on batting level. And then, by all means, make him captain. But you can't bring him in as an unproven middle order batsman and impose him as captain. My own view is that they should bring back Joss to captain in the short term. I don't think he suffered in comparison with the guy from Surrey, who didn't cover himself glory in the West Indies. And Joss he's got a great cricket brain. He's very, very popular. He's being lined up to be captain, and that would be my choice for the next England captain. Might be a bit of a stopgap, but if he starts scoring runs and keeps wicket neatly, then could be a long-term option as well.
I think the problem with Joss is he's never quite cracked Test match cricket, has he?
No, he hasn't. But
But there were, I suppose, which of the batsmen have that have debuted in the last few years. Yeah, I think if you're going to captain a side, you need credibility amongst your peers, and to come into a side having never played a Test match and be made captain, I don't think that's a goer whatsoever. I think he needs to have a year or two in the side, scoring runs away from Somerset, diminishing our chances.
He's very much maybe not as cerebral as Brearley, but it's very much. Brearley played a couple of tests as an opening batsman, didn't do very much, and then when all the Packer stuff happened, they made him captain. And my view on it is that if you picked somebody, you went the opposite of the Australian model, which is you picked your best captain. I think he is probably one of the best captains available to England. Certainly in my top three. So, from that point of view, I think he would contribute, that aspect of the game that probably nobody else can. The problem we've got very much is he'd probably have to bat at 6 initially, and he's going to be targeted, and it's going to be very difficult for him. So I would love to see Tom Abell captain England and succeed as captain of England, but if he's going to do that, this year's too soon. He needs to make a lot of runs, probably go on a tour, find his way into the setup, and then be ready. And maybe the perfect scenario is to let Joss have it and build him up on a progressive way. But that would imply that the England setup had a bit of logic and methodology to it, which I don't see anywhere soon. So,
yeah, totally agree with that. Stuart Broad was another name that was mooted about as being a sort of a stopgap captain, but I think it's immaterial because I don't think Joe Root will give it up, and I don't think they've got the bollocks to sack him, to be honest. So I think we're stuck with Joe Root for as long as he wants it. Is that sort of what you think, Dan? It seems how it is to me.
The bigger issue is we need to just play better cricket, really. Like, the captaincy doesn't matter.
You make it sound so simple, Dan. It's as simple as that. Just play better cricket.
We can change the captain, but it probably won't change much. A good captain only adds, a few percent to a team's performance, if that. So the first thing we've got to sort out is just playing better cricket, and then Joe Root's captaincy actually won't matter so much because as I said, it's all about adding 1% here and there. A good captain. Joe Root doesn't do that necessarily, but there's no even if we had a better captain of this current side, if we're playing at the same level, it's not going to make much difference, really, is it? So we've got to bat better, really. That's the main thing. The bowling is decent, and especially at home, we're fine bowling wise. But we've got to sort out the batting lineup, haven't we? And Tom Abell could be part of that. He's just got to score a bucket load of runs in the county championship. Yeah. Because we've tried so many batters in recent years, the England team, and some of them have done pretty well in county cricket and not done so well in Test cricket. So we don't know if Tom Abell would do well, but I think we'd all like to think that he would, and he's got a fair bit of experience now. He's got a good technique. He scores pressure runs, so I think he'd do well. I hope he'd do well.
But we go back to the age-old story, Dan, that Tom Abell batting at the Rose Bowl on Thursday morning is not the preparation for playing Test match cricket. And then, we all go off on down that. If you don't play county championship cricket in the peak of the summer, where's Tom Abell going to get that experience? Even if he has a stellar summer and scores buckets of runs, that isn't going to translate into, I don't even know where England are next year, but South Africa or New Zealand or whatever. It's not necessarily going to translate into being able to score runs on test match quality pitches played in, the peak months of a summer. That's the difficulty. And until we resolve that, I cannot see, us improving. And it's interesting, Anthony will remember this. I remember very well the Lord's Test match when Ian Botham lost the England captaincy. He made a pair in front of a deserted Lord's on the Tuesday afternoon, was told by, I think it was Alec Bedser, that he'd been demoted as England captain. And on the Wednesday arrived a packed full house for a Benson Hedges quarter final at Taunton. And in those days, that's what would happen. They would come straight back and play a Gillette or a Benson Hedges game and then play a couple of championship games before the next test match. So, Tom Abel goes into the England side in that scenario. He has a bad test match. He's got a couple of championship games to get his form and confidence back. It doesn't happen now. The structure is just almost broken beyond mending now, and it's just not going to help an England side at all.
I think this goes back to what we were talking about with the England batsman just not being good enough. If you look at somebody like Johnny Bairstow, loses place, or Zach Crawley was exactly the same, loses her England place, just kind of hang around the squad for a couple of months and you get your place back.
Yep.
There's no going back to championship.
Not through
cricket.
weight of runs. No. Not through weight of runs, just, we'll give you another go because whoever we replace you with hasn't done very well.
Yeah, and it's the same with Joss as well. Joss isn't going to play. If Joss does get back in the test team as captain, it's not going to be because he's scored thousands of runs for Lancashire. It's because he's just kind of gone down the list, and then it'll be his time to come back up the list. And then if he gets dropped again, he'll just go down the list and then up again. Nobody seems to go to the bottom of the list and then force their way back in by scoring championship runs. It's almost like we've got something going on in the summer, which means we can't play championship cricket at the height of the summer.
I can't understand what that is.
It's on the tip of my tongue. It's on the tip of my tongue. I saw that the TV deal got renewed again for another 10 years.
That's not confirmed,
today.
I don't think, but it's close.
And does that include 10 years of the
It
bloody
does.
100? Oh, God's
Yeah,
sake.
according to Lizzie Ammon in the Times.
It just, when the solution is there, it's staring you in the face. Ditch the 100, promote the blast.
Yeah.
Cricket being played
Well,
in.
we'll see. We'll see. I suspect this review is going to come up with a rather different solution, which will involve slimming down the county championship.
It'll be giving Tom Harrison an extortionate pay rise for delivering the bloody 100.
It wouldn't shock me if they sort of cut the blast to 10 games per team and use that, then there'd be a bit more space for more championship at the height of summer. But I mean, taking off 4 blast games, how many more championship games in the summer would that give you? 1 or 2, really? So it's not going to make a huge difference because the problems with the schedule
And the financial as well, Dan. If you take 4 blast games away from a county, that's or 2 home games. That's hundreds of thousands of pounds you've taken out of a county's coffers. So you can't do that because the counties will go skint. So
so the counties have got to resist then.
Maybe you do it here so that the counties go skint, so that you slim the championship down. So you end up, hate to say it, but the Leicestershires and Derbyshires and Northants of this world who are going to, we all know they're in the firing line. That could become a self-fulfilling prophecy, unfortunately.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me if that's the logic. Then it wouldn't surprise me if they did do that, because there seems to be all these rumours going around from Kevin Peterson, idiot pundit, the biggest idiot pundit of the lot. I don't think it's any surprise that he's not on commentary anywhere and he's not got a pundit job anywhere because he's an idiot. But again, it's the point I go back to: if you want to expand cricket, you should be looking to have a professional game with more than 18 counties because the game is so popular, the demand for it is there. So that's your brief, Mr. Harrison. That's your brief, ECB. Make the game more popular and expand it. Anybody in business will tell you don't expand by cutting your business. You don't expand by cutting cost, and you certainly don't expand the game by cutting the amount of places that it is played professionally around the country for kids to go and watch and get inspired. The 100 is played in 7 cities. The championship is played in 17. It's not difficult. it's not difficult to work out that the NatWest Trophy being played, professional cricketers going out to the Shires once a year. I was there. Anthony was too. I didn't bump into him back in 1991 when Essex played Devon down in Exmouth.
Exmouth, yeah.
That is by me. Graham Gooch, Derek Pringle, Mark Ward possibly there as well. Test players on your doorstep. That's what you need to go for.
Was Peter Roebuck captaining Devon that day?
I think that was before Roebuck's time. I think. Oh, I tell you what, it was Hiley Edwards because I was in the late Hiley Edwards because I was in the same class as his son Mark. So Hiley Edwards was captain in Devon that day. I think Roebuck started in 94, 95, I think. But yeah, Hiley Edwards was captain that day. So that's possibly the 7th or 8th time I've put that identikit rant out, and I'm hoping I don't have to do it too many more times, but if the need comes, I shall. Shall we pop on to questions from our listeners, and let's have a quick scoot through the old Twitter notifications to see where we are. Couple of points made about the structure of these pre-season games and their contrivances. Andy Harry said that these would kind of build an intensity. I didn't really see that. They seem to be all to be played at the same level of sort of middle practice, with players going on and off, and 9 bowlers bowling and only sort of 4 of them batting, and then pretty much 15, 16, 17 players getting involved in each of these games. I do think that there needs to be an element of contrivance so we can get the most out of them. It would be stupid if one side was 550 for 2 declared and they batted for 2.5 of the 3 days and didn't bowl. But I think the actual question from John Hayes was: are you a fan of retired out and contrivances in pre-season games, or like me, would you rather let the game take its course, and does the former undermine the objective?
It's much harder to have pre-season in cricket than it is in most other sports, isn't it? Because pre-season football, rugby, you can start an 11 or a 15 and then swap it in and out. If you don't have retirements, you can't do that. So actually, I'm having said that I didn't take a lot of interest or notice in the pre-season games. I'm not saying that they should change the format, because I'm quite happy with them just having extended middle practice. And I think if we were talking and we said, well, Abel and Banton had batted for a day against Gloucestershire or Warwickshire, what help was that to Lewis Goldsworthy and Tom Lammonby or whoever? I'd much rather everyone got time in the middle, bat or ball. So I think it is a fact of life, and Andy Harry's building intensity is exactly the right thing, because we all know from, you play cricket until you can have as many nets as you want. Until you start playing games in the middle, you're not ready, and that's the whole purpose of this. As was the time in Abu Dhabi early in the month.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Agreed. Yeah, I agree with it.
One from Chris Payne. Who do you think will finish top 3 in the championship?
Oh, that's a good one.
Lancashire, Hampshire, and Essex, I think.
How do I boot Dan out of the meeting?
Not necessarily that order, but those 3.
What about us?
Yeah, I don't want to be too optimistic of us, because then we'll fail. I need to be pessimistic and then be pleasantly surprised.
Lancashire, definitely. I've got a horrible feeling that Surrey might have a good season this season. Yeah, and I will do my mantra, Ian, of if we are still in the shake-up at the right end of the season come the start of September, and I know that backfired on me horribly last September, because I got everything I wished for and then everything I dreaded, but I think I would be very surprised if Lancashire don't win it. They'll have to have a bad season, in my view. I think they were very unlucky last year. But they are quite mercurial, so they could be, the team playing catch up in the latter half of the summer.
I've got Essex, Surrey, and Gloucestershire.
I knew that was coming, Gloucestershire.
Yeah.
I think they've got a good setup at Bristol. I think they'll So take a bit of beat.
I think Gloucester will be the dark horses. I won't be surprised if Gloucester made it onto the podium this year. May even win it. But I'm going Somerset, Lancashire, and then I think Gloucester will sneak into it as well. Anthony, I've got some bad news. Andy Cleve, literally in the last few seconds, has just sent me a screen grab of a quote from Jason Kerr. And learnings is spreading. Jason Kerr has now said we've taken a lot of learnings from last year and invested a lot of time over the winter and throughout pre-season, ensuring we are in the best possible place come that first game at Hampshire. There's a real air of confidence within the group at the moment. And a final question from Stuart Hodgkiss as I wait for the page to load. So basically, how do we think Craig and Jack have got on? So Stuart mentions that they've had a bit of a rough ride from some England supporters in the media, so they want to get our assessments on them.
I thought Jack bowled really well in the West Indies. He was back. He was back just about to his best. You know, he bowled with enormous control. What did he bowl? 69 overs
or something like that. There's a few.
Barbados for 118 runs on a pitch that wasn't giving him much. I mean, he did a really good job for his captain. He's never going to bowl a side out except on a pitch that's giving him some help. He's not that type of spin bowler. I thought Craig, well, you know, he showed his limitations on overseas pitches. I think it would be fair to say. I mean, he's a force to be reckoned with on English pitches where the ball is seaming around. You know, he doesn't quite have that extra 10%, 5%, you know, a little bit of something special to get good batsmen out on flat pitches overseas. So I would, you know, I mean, that's not to say he won't play more Test cricket for England because, you know, there isn't much else around in the seam bowling department. They're either injured or getting on a bit. But, you know, he plugged away and he gave it 100% as he always does. I was disappointed he didn't get any runs. That was the other thing. But it's, you know, it must have been a fairly disheartening winter for him, not getting a game in Australia and then having to bowl on pitches in the West Indies that weren't offering anything very much. It's been a very tough winter, and I think he'll be glad to get back with the dragon on his show.
Yes, the dragon, Mr. Hurry, not the wyvern. I said, Dan, can you just email Gordon Hollins about? You know, you seem to get very good responses from Gordon about these sorts of things. Yeah, just mention it's a dragon and not a bloody wyvern. Thank you. Yeah, anything to add on Craig and Jack over the winter, guys? I can't add anything.
I'd just say one thing. I don't think there's a Somerset cricketer for a long time that's made me as proud to be as man of Somerset Tauntonian as Jack Leach. And when he was batting with Sajid Mahmood, I was like, if it just makes you so proud that he, you know, a man who gets so much, every last ounce out of his ability. No one would have blamed him if he'd walked out and had a waft and gone 4-4 out. And he gutsed it out, and that just, you know, I love the guy to bits. I was slightly worried because Kevin Sturmey and the Taunton Town media team had me going on Friday morning saying that Rob Dre had left the club, and I was in an almighty panic with them now top of that division. And then they announced that Jack is going to manage one of the sides in a benefit game coming up, and I thought, Jack Leach is going to be managing Taunton Town now as well as doing everything else. Is that going to affect his bowling? But I think I was taken in by a really good April Fool. So well done, everyone at Taunton Town, for that. And no, I just think Jack Leach is everything you want in a cricketer playing for your club. And that, you know, the fact he plays for my old club and he's a Tauntonian and he's our Jack Leach is. I just couldn't be more proud of the guy. So let's get him back where he's loved, and he knows that, and his captain treats him properly, and we'll all reap the benefits.
Hear, hear.
That's a great note to finish on then, Steve. Alex Vaughan has just tweeted in a question about an off-stump guard, but I think we've run out of time on that one, so pop that into us next time, Alex.
Just before you go, I had a parcel today in the post.
Oh! See, why don't I get free cider apart from the free cider I got from Trade Nation?
Thatcher's. It's their new Thatcher's
Martin, if you're listening, can I have some free cider as well, please?
Yeah.
blood
And
orange.
Cheshire is very hard to get Thatcher's, Martin, so I am available if need to help you out.
So we got the Thatcher's
There you are.
blood orange cider.
Yes, it's not the style of cider that I normally drink, but it's very kind of them, and I shall look forward to
We
enjoying.
look forward to the review next week, Anthony.
Have you not had any yet, Anthony?
No, I have. There are only 2 bottles, and I'm saving them for. I'll take one down.
Only
Take
2
one down
bottles.
for the
This is Anthony Gibson Thatcher's. Come on, should be at least 3. No, I've still got loads of my Trade Nation cider to drink. It's just sitting there. It just sits there during my work day behind the Brian Rose bar, tempting me. But I'm not quite at the stage of drinking on the job yet. Right, Anthony, you and Kevin James down at the Ageas on Thursday then?
Yep, certainly am. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely, looking forward to watching that on the live stream and catching up next week in the for the Essex game. I'm going to miss the first few days of that. I'm away next week, so I'll be doing this from Tenerife in the sunshine. Hopefully, I can get some Wi-Fi. We can get together next Monday. But Anthony, have a safe trip down to Southampton.
Thanks, Ian.
Unless we've got any other business.
A dinner to eat, I'm afraid.
All right, fair enough. We'll let Steve get off to his dinner. We're a minute past Steve's deadline, so Debbie will be getting cross with him as we speak. So, shall we launch into a 45-minute discussion about the off-stump guard, or shall we knock it on the head for this week?
I might leave you at this point then.
All right. Catch you all next Monday, guys, and best of luck to Tom
Cheers,
Aitken and
guys.
the boys down at the Ageas on Thursday. Come on, the Dragon!
Cheers.